Please subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell icon. Free software means software that respects users' freedom. Roughly, the users have the freedom to run, copy, distribute, study, change, improve the software, and redistribute it. With these freedoms, the users control the program and what it does for them. When users don't control the program controls the users. The developer controls the program. This non-free or proprietary program is therefore an instrument of unjust power. Thus, free software is a matter of liberty, not price. To understand the concept, you should think of free as in free speech, not as in free beer. A program is a free software if the program's users have the four essential freedoms. Freedom 0, the freedom to run the program, for any purpose. Freedom 1, the freedom to study how the program works, and change it so it does your computing as you wish. Access to the source code is a precondition for this. Freedom 2, the freedom to redistribute copies so you can help your neighbor. Freedom 3, the freedom to distribute copies of your modified versions to others. By doing this you can give the whole community a chance to benefit from your changes. Access to the source code is a precondition for this. A program is a free software if users have all of these freedoms. Thus, you should be free to redistribute copies, either with or without modifications, either gratis or charging a fee for distribution, to anyone anywhere. Being free to do these things means that you do not have to ask or pay for permission to do so. You should also have the freedom to make modifications and use them privately in your own work or play, without even mentioning that they exist. If you do publish your changes, you should not be required to notify anyone in particular, or in any particular way. The freedom to run the program means the freedom for any kind of person or organization to use it on any kind of computer system, for any kind of overall job and purpose, without being required to communicate about it with the developer or any other specific entity. In this freedom, it is the user's purpose that matters, not the developer's purpose. You as a user are free to run the program for your purposes, and if you distribute it to someone else, he or she is then free to run it for their purposes, but you are not entitled to impose your purposes on them. The freedom to redistribute copies must include binary or executable forms of the program, as well as source code, for both modified and unmodified versions. Distributing program in runnable form is necessary for conveniently installable free operating systems. It is okay if there is no way to produce a binary or executable form for a certain program since some languages don't support that feature, but you must have the freedom to redistribute such forms should you find or develop a way to make them. In order for freedoms 1 and 3 to be meaningful, you must have access to the source code of the program. Therefore, the accessibility of source code is a necessary condition for free software. Obfuscated source code is not a real source code and does not count as a source code. Freedom 1 includes the freedom to use your changed version in place of the original. If the program is delivered in a product designed to run someone else's modified versions but refuses to run yours, a practice is known as lockdown, or as secure boot. Freedom 1 becomes a theoretical fiction rather than practical freedom. This is not sufficient. In other words, these binaries are not free software even if the source code they are compiled from is free. One important way to modify a program is by merging in available free subroutines and modules. If the program's license says that you cannot merge in a suitably licensed existing module, for instance, if it requires you to be the copyright holder of any code you add, then the license is too restrictive to qualify as free. Freedom 3 includes the freedom to release your modified versions as free software. A free license may also permit other ways of releasing them. In other words, it does not have to be a copyleft license. However, a license that requires modified versions to be non-free does not qualify as a free license. Free software does not mean non-commercial. A free program must be available for commercial use, commercial development, and commercial distribution. Commercial development of free software is no longer unusual. Such free commercial software is essential. You may have paid money to get copies of free software, or you may have obtained copies at no charge. But regardless of how you got your copies, you always have the freedom to copy and change the software, even to sell copies. Let me explain about open source software. Open source software is computer software that is available in source code form. Open source software is software that has been released under an open source initiative certified license. The term open source software is used by some people to mean more or less the same category as free software. It is not exactly the same class of software. They accept some licenses that we consider too restrictive, and there are free software licenses they have not accepted. However, the differences in extension of the category are small. Nearly all free software is open source, and nearly all open source software is free. Linux is an open source software, meaning, simply, that anyone can get copies of its source code files. I hope you got more ideas about free and open source software. I will talk about other types of software and various licensing options in the coming episodes. See you.